Let's call this meeting to order at 7:15 p.m. We're going to start with the salute to the flag. Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in a moment of silent reflection. Thank you. Sunshine Law notice. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment, to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform, being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this regular council meeting of June 11, 2024 is available by call-in phone number or through web conference Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for questions or comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question or comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was included in the schedule of meetings, which was adopted by resolution number 2024-13 and sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Two River Times on January 4th, 2024, posted on the Borough website. The bulletin board in the municipal building has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Borough Clerk is directed to include this statement in the minutes of this meeting. Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Yes, here.
Ms. Kelly?
Here.
Kelly?
Yes.
Hodge?
Here.
Rivera?
Present.
Olson?
Here. Thank you. Before we get into our first workshop, I want to specifically acknowledge the Foundation of Fairhaven, the entire community, our staff, our volunteers, on an awesome Fairhaven. Also at that event, I want to point out that we did do a proclamation honoring 50 years of Fairhaven Fields. I believe Carolyn is on hand today with the doctor. And, we presented that proclamation, which made us proud. Thank you for being a steward of that jewel of Fairhaven for us. Thank you very much. Okay, jumping right in, we have a workshop session on the Borough Hall roof. Teresa, do you want to take this?
Mayor,
Sure.
and honestly, when the governing body did the original bond ordinance for all facilities, Borough Hall was included as part of that. At the time, one of the things that they identified and knew was going to be needed was a roof, and along with potentially other things down the road. We had, and Rich can speak to particulars, but we did have bid specs for the roof that we had put together a while ago, probably 2 years ago or so. And when we did not go out to bid on the roof, but we've had continuing problems with roofs leaking during that time span. We've had it patched, and every time there's a rainstorm, the guys go up there. It's the lower roof that's problematic. There's 2 roofs up there. And we had considered doing a change order off of the DPW project. And we had their roofer come over because they had worked with our roofing consultant who had done the specs for this roof. And they did give a proposal, but after further review with our QPA and our attorney, we didn't feel it was appropriate to do a change order off of that project. So that what you're really going to have to do then would be to put the roof out to bid. And you would need an authorization to bid that project. In a future.
Is the workshop around whether or not we're doing this or we're doing it in?
Well, I gave the background that we had thought that we'd be talking about possibly doing a change order. I think Drew had brought it forward in one of his previous facility meetings as a possibility. We ran that up the flagpole, we looked into it, we got the quote, but when we looked into it from a overall purchasing standpoint, we felt it was best that it be bid as a standalone. So, we have all the information on the roof and the bid specs. It's a matter of the governing body putting it out to bid. It will take some work. I know the borough engineer has any number of projects in front of it. I would defer to him on how long it would take to put the bid specs, the rest of the bid specs together for that project. But I will tell you, you know, we've had the ceiling in my office, you know, which, you know, nearly collapsed. We have water running in the finance office. We have water running in the bathroom. We've had lights out. You know, you're gonna need a roof. And we patched it as many times as we can patch it. If Rich wants to add in his expertise, he's welcome. We can ask him any questions. Roofs are not my specialty.
So my question, I had asked you for an assessment of the roof, but I think what you gave me is what the new roof would look like. Do we have an assessment? Rich, did you look at the roof or did we have a company come in and do an assessment of the
We
roof?
had as part of that prior authorization, we had our roofing consultant go up, they actually took cores of the roof, they did the evaluation of the roof, and they developed plans and specifications ultimately for the replacement. It was determined, and this was determined a number of years ago, that we would need a roof pretty soon. We held off from the lower roof, we went ahead and did the upper roof, which is above the library. The lower roof is over the administrative offices, the bathroom, and then the back entrance area. So going in kind of like our 5-year, 10-year plan, we knew we had to do something. We had appropriated money, actually, even before we were gonna redo DPW, we were looking to do the roof here and the roof at DPW as one package. This goes back about 10 years ago. And then things kind of were in, you know, the holding pattern. And then until about 2 years ago, that's when things really came to fruition and said, okay, we gotta do this. And like Teresa said, we've had a few roofers up there, we've been patching, we've been sealing. Our own staff have been up there, basically every time it gets a heavy rain, we gotta go up there with a squeegee to get the weight of the water off the roof. During the snow, we have to shovel the roof off, the snow off the roof, because the weight of the snow and the melt and everything else. We've got, like Teresa mentioned, there's new areas where it's coming in, and, you know, we're throwing 5-gallon buckets everywhere, so. We did a patch recently, we spent about $1,500 to get a decent patch up there, but it's really just a Band-Aid. Whether it makes another winter, I don't know. But from the plans and specifications, the plans are basically substantially complete, design. The technical specifications are completed. It's just a matter of taking our front end, and then I would sign and seal it as the PE to go out to bid.
So if we go out to bid and then, once we go out to bid, just remind me, if we don't like the cost of the bid, we don't have to do the job?
There's a few, items in the public contracts law that allows you to reject the bid, and if the number comes in above the estimated price, that is a way to reject it.
Okay, and I'm assuming this is the estimated price?
What number do you have there?
$119,600.
Well, that's from the false contractor, that might be lower than what you get the bid, or it might.
But what's the estimated price? That's what.
We have
that's
to
what-
look at it, probably about a year old. Now, within that number, that's why we felt that.
Okay, so if I'd like to see the report from a year and a half ago,
Yes, I-
personally.
Yeah.
But if we do go out to bid, I assume that any contractors in town that are still gonna be in town for the next year might wanna bid on that as well. I would think. And then potentially other roofers would bid on it also. I would think that would be the best way to get the best price overall for the town. That's
I
the way that I would look at it, but.
I'd also like to see the assessment, knowing it's a number of years old. Yeah, I know, you weren't very specific, but there was an assessment, it was done by a third party, it wasn't done by a contractor sub or a roofing
No, it's not
company.
my thing.
It's RMS
Okay.
roof,
Yeah.
So that'd be great, I'd like to see that.
and it's a year old. Cause
1 year?
we did it last year, when we looked at it as part of facilities, I even think we sent it out to the governing body last year. The one thing I just wanna, double click on a couple things is, is it's not a question of the funding, right? Because the funding's already been approved and allocated for it. It's a question of when. And a year ago, a little more than that, year and a half ago, we were sitting here, right, talking about the ramifications of indecision on the roof at DPW and at the, you know, and at the water issue at PD and Community Center. So the reason I say that is I think it's prudent on us to fix the roof
Yeah.
and get ahead of it so that it doesn't lead to some larger issue that costs more money to fix, like we experienced. That.
Well, it sounds like we keep doing patchworks, and so we are spending money as we. feel.
I agree with that. I'd like to recommend, unless there's more on this, is let's get the report. Let's put it back on the, agenda workshop again for 2 weeks from now, and then we'll give direction moving forward.
Can we also get like a comprehensive list of all the projects we have? I fully appreciate wanting to get the roof done, but we also have 3 other buildings going up. We have fields that are unattended to. There's a lot outstanding. I personally would love to do one project right and get it done 100% right before we move on to something else, but it's hard to make a decision like this in isolation, I guess is what I'm saying. So more context would be really helpful.
The only thing I will say, I agree, I think I have this whole list, but. It sounds like we've pushed this off for a long time, and I do worry that we keep pushing it off, and if the money's there. And it doesn't necessarily take a ton of our staff away, because we'd be hiring a company, then I don't see a huge downside to. Getting this project done.
I don't even remember agreeing to put this money as part of the, I don't know, I just.
It was before you were on council, way before. And the ordinance has to be from,
2019.
Oh,
right.
It's 2019. Okay.
yeah.
Do we have the project matrix that shows all the projects, right, that we created? So can we just send that out to the governing body to look at?
We need more detail around costs.
Oh, we created remember last year? Yeah, last year what we did was we created a multi-column overview of every single project and grants and money and time. I mean, it's extensive to give everybody the information they need.
So why can't we just authorize to go for bid now? Why do we have to?
I think we want to
The
see that
resolution.
report. So,
It's because of,
It has
because
to
it,
put something on the agenda.
so it's a procedural thing.
well, also for me, I want to see the report.
I too. would
I
like
haven't
to see-
reviewed it personally. Or maybe I reviewed it 2 years ago. I think it was before I was on myself.
Well, you authorized it to put a bid, but you never had action, so that's there, it's just the matter of completing like Rich said.
I mean,
Needs to be done.
my sense on the urgency is, you know, it's leaking an assessment that was done last year since it was bad. Roofs don't get better unless we think that the report is faulty. You know, that possibility, I don't see. But if we have to wait for 2 weeks.
Would the resolution be on the next meeting though, even if we're waiting for this information? Or
No, we're gonna get this information, I hope, tomorrow, right? Rich?
What resolution?
Yeah, he's looking for the email right now.
don't we need a resolution to say go out to bid?
Yeah,
We did that. A year ago, Rich, or 2 years?
for the roof.
I think it was like 2 years.
It was, and it was for both, I'm pretty sure, it was DPW and Borough.
So wouldn't we
yeah.
have to do the resolution
then
anyway to
When
separate?
DPW was so problematic, the governing body decided not to spend money on a roof for a building that was otherwise in great disrepair.
I wanna be clear here. I understand what you say, but before we spend $100,000, I think it's prudent that we all look at that report and feel comfortable with it. We're talking about 2 weeks. As we said, we've pushed it off 3 years. Let's be sure. 2 weeks from now, we come back, we double click. Okay? And we move forward. Sure?
It's a very fun story.
We're good?
Yeah.
All right, next up, extend rental agreement with the Columbus Club. Teresa?
Yes, as you recall, as part of, not having a community center, we did put together a agreement with the Columbus Club. We have used them for various, borough groups, and they charge us. It's, as a matter of fact, there's actually a, invoice on here tonight. But it's been a reasonable cost. The accommodations have been good. And, DJ had suggested or asked if we could extend that, you know, for additional amount of time, so we can actually go to, continue to use it until we're ready to open our community center.
think this is a good idea, housekeeping.
Yeah, I agree.
You on that?
I got no questions.
Good on that? Teresa, we good?
That's the motion. That's what we have.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you.
We spent like $600 so far with that, from when it was originally approved, that's why I just pulled the invoice.
Keep the community loves it.
All right, solid waste and recycling collection bid. You want me to give an overview? Teresa, where we're at?
I think you probably have a
Okay.
good handle on your own.
So, as many of you know, our solid waste collection and recycling bid is up for renewal. And the date is it July 1st? On July 1st. So we went out to bid for these services. We strategically put the bid together and separated certain line items just for the reason in which we find ourselves in. As a comparison, when we put our DPW and police department buildings out to bid, how many bidders did we have?
9.
Not 9 bidders. For our solid waste and recycling collection, we had 1 bidder. A single bidder. So the reason that I'm bringing that up is we find ourselves in a challenging situation with a challenging decision to make for our community. There's something called an appropriations cap that we cannot exceed from year to year. The maximum amount that this appropriations cap rises every year is 3.5%. It's 3.5%. Obviously, we're in a inflationary period in our country, in our history, that is making things difficult from a spend standpoint. In addition to that, we see double-digit increases in state health benefits nearly every single year the last few years. And we even prepared for this in seeing that other towns were getting increases on the same types of contracts that they were receiving as we budgeted for this year into the future. And I believe the amount we budgeted for was 50% higher. We budgeted for 50% higher, which is a huge increase in spend. Unfortunately for us, we didn't anticipate that the contract would come in 97% higher than we thought it would. Well, not than we thought it would, 97% above where it was previously. So that presents us.
So that would mean if something costs $100, now it's costing $197.
Correct.
And we estimated 150.
And we estimate 150.
Well, and we did, but being honest, your issue is not this year because it's only a 6-month contract.
Right.
We estimated appropriately, it's next year when the full amount, the full 97 kicks in, the automatic.
So, I think the finance guys can speak a little bit to the numbers after I'm through this, but helicopter view, the situation we found ourselves in is, we had a few different options. I think it was 3 separate options. We could basically keep all of our services the same, with the exception of moving 10 bulk pickups down to 4
Per year.
per year. So you get 1 bulk pickup every quarter instead of 10 months out of 12. And I think the sentiment up here is that's what we would have liked to do for the community. Unfortunately, when we ran the numbers, we saw that we'd really be putting ourselves in a very tough financial situation going into next year as far as the budget's concerned. And it's, again, this is not the money we have. This is the appropriations cap. We've been very, very fiscally prudent. So much so that we lowered taxes in the borough of Fairhaven this year collectively, which, it goes to show you that one doesn't necessarily, rock the other. The second option was to change our weekly recycling. Right now, we're getting 1 recycling per week for the entire borough and make that bi-weekly. So you would be receiving recycling once every 2 weeks. The third option, which we can only pull the lever on if we go from the the recycling every week to bi-weekly, we can also go from, in the summer for about 4 months, we get trash pickup twice a week. We can also go from 2 trash pickups a week to 1 trash pickup a week. But we can only do that based on the way the bid went out, if we pull the first lever on the recycling. Each of them save about the same amount of money. It's like $120,000 each. They'll get into the numbers when we're done. But at the end of the day, doing one or doing both of them would really make things much more flexible for us as we move into next year. Now, I also want to throw out there, it's our full intention, and we already have some meetings scheduled to seek a waiver, but more importantly, an exemption where they raise your cap by a certain amount and it permanently stays at that amount as they calculate into the future. The issue is we've received exemptions the last 2 years. That's how crazy the spend is going up every year. So that's where we're at. The only other thing I'd like to bring up, because the first lever we can pull is the recycling, is we did do an analysis of the towns surrounding us. We reached out to them. Out of the 7 towns we reached out to, 5 of the 7 did have recycling once every 2 weeks, not weekly. So it's actually the norm in this area to get bi-weekly recycling pickup. I don't know if that'll soften the blow, if that's the direction we decide to go in. But I was just talking to a Rumson resident at Val's the other night. He said, listen, we've kind of learned, break down our boxes, fold them up, and we get a lot more space in our recycling bin. One other challenge we would have in that scenario, we would have to find a recycling center for the next 6 months, whether that's a temporary one in Farrington or some sort of deal with a neighboring municipality. Because as you know, with the DPW center being closed right now, so is the recycling center. So with that, I think more importantly, I spoke more top level, get into the gritty little bits.
Yeah,
Drew,
yeah,
Brian,
I'll kick off.
Clarify option 2 and 3, the difference between option 2 and 3, both we move to a bi-weekly recycling situation, but in option 3, we also get the second trash pickup in the summer.
No. In option 3, it gets taken away.
Okay.
In option 2, you maintain the second trash pickup in summer. In option 3, you would go to bi-weekly recycling and you would go to one trash pickup for the whole year.
Can I add one
And
positive?
remember, the parks in downtown are connected to.
Yes.
That's
All that's included there.
The positive that came in the bid is that the whole town will get picked up in one day.
Right.
That was a nice thing instead of 2 days.
The whole town will get picked up in one day. And I guess silver linings, if we go to bi-weekly trucks, that's a lot less bins in the street, and it's also less trucks driving around the area as well.
So just wanna provide a little bit more, and then I'm gonna turn over to Brian to kind of go into some more numbers, just to really paint the picture. I want to start, right, so 97% increase, it's almost double the cost of what it was 5 years ago. The bulk pickup cost there's a 233% increase on the bulk pickup cost per instance. So 233%, so that was part of the reasoning with why we went down to quarterly. When we look at the sequence, right, the first alternate is including that garbage twice a week in the summer. That's an extra $136,000 for the first year on top of it. And then to add recycling weekly adds another 120 grand, right? So we're talking 256-ish thousand, $257,000. We then went and had subsequent meetings as a finance committee with the auditor, with the CPA, or excuse me, CFO. And Brian did some phenomenal analysis. So Brian, I'm gonna turn it over to you on the hard numbers.
Yeah, so the appropriation cap, just to sort of review that, it's a limit on how fast appropriations can grow. It's put in place, I believe, under Christie administration, in an environment when the Fed was having trouble getting inflation up to 2%. And they put in, the baseline is actually 2%, and then we can go up to 3.5. So in a world where inflation is struggling to get as high as 2%, 3.5% seems like plenty of room. So with that background, last year we appropriated within this limit, 8.7 million. And Nancy and I worked on a back of the envelope, and we estimate that next year's ceiling would be 9.2 million. And that would give us $500,000 of extra amounts that could be appropriated, if you will. The solid waste contract, if we kept the same services, would take 200,000 of that, and that would leave us with 300,000 left for everything else in the budget to grow. Last year, the appropriations requests of growth was 900,000 from the departments, and we had to trim that back down. So there essentially isn't a mathematical way to get there without doing pretty drastic things. One scenario that would get us there is if we gave all the departments zero growth, and some of that stuff is forced in contracts. You can't say zero. And that would leave us to what can we do on a discretionary basis? And the analysis we did is that there's about a little over 300,000 in discretionary. So that's things like the fireworks at Fairhaven Day. And if we cut every single penny of that and gave the department zero growth, we would be able to pay for the same garbage. So it doesn't work. I know we're struggling and trying to find different ways to maybe cure it later through appeals and waivers, and that may materialize. But I think it's hard to assume that it will and vote that it will. So it feels unfortunately that we're gonna have to deal with less service.
Do you have a handle on estimated increases that are known estimated, like contractual salary,
That's non-discretionary.
Yeah, so I don't know the increase, so I can tell you.
I mean, is it worth understanding that if we're trying to, we want to avoid backing ourselves into a corner that are identified and we're not able to take care of situations that may arise right?
Yep.
Things that we can't anticipate, that are of an emergent nature. If there was an emergency or some kind of situation, would we have to surplus through some sort of?
We wouldn't have access to surplus, but generally speaking, if you're talking about emergency, that kind of group or something like that would be capital. Borough doesn't have any issues with capital, and capital is not part of our appropriations cap. And I want to make something clear for the public too, we also have a levy cap. And that's actually what your taxes are going up, and that's 2%. And we don't have an issue getting up the levy cap because we have a solid surplus and we can offset that as a revenue and still maintain that tax rate. But the appropriations cap is different. It's just spending, it's set by the state, and there's no room in that. So, if an emergency came up in the budget, let's just say it was something that had to be fixed, a fire truck repair. That would be a perfect example of something that would have to be in your current fund budget, and you might change the priority. You might have thought you were going to spend something else, and that's when we get to the end of the year, we're allowed to transfer funds because the budget's just that, it's a budget. And we do our best, but things happen during the year and you have to anticipate that. Middle East has a war and gasoline prices tripled, we're gonna be short in gasoline at the end of the year, and we'll have to transfer in those lines. So, we as much as adopting a budget is important, monitoring is just as important. Your CFO, your administrator, they need to work together. Your finance committee, we watch that budget during the year at all key times to know where we are with all these different lines. So we can anticipate in June, if I look at some of the lines over 50%, I better know why, and sometimes it's easy. It's insurance and we already paid the whole bill, but if it's something that we didn't anticipate, we have to say ourselves why. And our department heads do a very good job at also monitoring their budget and keeping an eye on things.
So I would just like to speak to that also, Tracy. If there is an emergency that is not a capital item and we can't shift funds around, it's not that time of year, whatever, we can do an emergency appropriation that would then have to be included in next year's budget. So there is
Some mechanism.
Yeah, there's a mechanism to take care of emergencies if they arise.
Thank you for that.
And that does eat into your appropriations cap also the following year. 'cause
Yes, it has to be raised for next year's budget,
Yeah.
but it does take care of current amounts.
So I just, Brian and Nancy, I'm gonna look at the both of you just because I want to make sure my statement's correct, right? So $500,000, right, is the room that we get in the appropriations cap next year, and it's based on a ton of assumptions, right? We're going off of this.
Mhm.
Got it, okay. The cost of the trash and recycling bid as is, right, that 200K plus non-discretionary exceeds that 500,000.
Okay, there it is.
I don't
Well, so
think
discretionary. thinking.
so.
I have
No,
discretionary.
Speaking non-discretionary.
What do you-
Salaries,
I don't
insurance,
know, I don't believe it does.
okay,
So that isn't something that we specifically looked at. We went through the whole budget, but
okay, let me say it a different way. Yep, okay, I got my wires crossed.
Is
Let me
this
just-
the 298?
So, hang on, yep, I'll get there. So let me say it another way, 200 grand for the required for garbage. Plus discretionary status quo from this year, which is 331,000 is greater than any room that we would have next year. And does not include any increases anywhere else
Non-discretionary.
so
in non-discretionary.
I'm just gonna try and answer this and if
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm hearing you wrong, let me know.
Check.
So what we currently have remains. Right, so the 300, if we leave the budgets the same next year, no increase. Say nothing else increases except for the garbage, and we have 500, we're just using 200.
We
Right,
have 300,000.
so nothing's, if we're starting at base this year, we can increase things a max of, I'd go a little conservative and say 450. But a max of 450, so what currently exists is accounted for. It's anything over and above what currently exists.
And that
So we
300
can increase.
yeah, perfect. And that 300 to 450,000, right, spectrum. Doesn't take into account any non-discretionary increases that are required. Right, we haven't deducted the non-discretionary
No, so we
increases.
we have not looked at our state health benefit increase for next year. We don't technically know what it is. We know it's gonna be double digits.
Double digits, how much does that qualify to in actual dollars last year? How much was the increase last year in actual dollars? Last year, I know that that's not,
So
I don't
I
have,
can look it up on slow. So one quick thing. So non-discretionary last year was 8.3 million. So if that increased 3.5%, which we know some of them will be higher than that, that's 289,000. So it's called
Okay.
300.
Wait, I'm sorry, say that, those numbers.
So if non-discretionary, that portion of the budget goes 3.5% higher, that's $289,000 in dollars.
2.5.
Some of those line items, are gonna grow faster than that, like health benefits. I suppose some could grow less than 3.5, but in this inflationary environment, it doesn't feel likely, or at least not a lot of them. Let me see if I can find how much the health benefits, is that what we're looking for?
you have the budget up, Brian?
I do.
Do you mind if I pull your folder?
Well, wouldn't we, I mean, we would have more wiggle room because the appropriations would go a little high. I mean, we have 3%, so are we taking that into
We
consideration?
have,
That's the 500.
that's the 500 grand.
You're saying that's.
So 500 grand minus 200 puts us
I
at
got it.
300, and then the discretionary increase wipes it out.
It goes over it.
And the
Yeah.
state does change year to year what they put inside a cap and what's put outside a
I
cap.
wanna
They
see-
can
that's
make
the
those,
question, right?
they,
It's not
every year
discretionary.
can.
So that doesn't leave five
So there's a
cents for.
chance that maybe garbage would go outside.
Well, they did it as a deduction and it's year to year, and we already took 1 year and they gave us the second one. So, but I'm telling you right now, the mayor has a conference call with our legislators and myself and then Nancy, and then I'm sure the vice mayor participated. You know, small towns are like a canary in the coal mine. We don't have the same room in our budget that a large city in a town has, but you're gonna start hearing these many towns really start to complain to their legislators about the
Let's
appropriations
do
cap.
that. It's
Because it
really
is,
handcuffing us.
you know, we're very fiscally solid here and we have, you know, the ability to keep our levy cap at 2% and they're really, you know, tying your hands to make decisions that are in the best interest of your residents. And that's really not fair.
so a question I have here, I want to come back to the financials,
Here's a number.
but when do we have to award this bid by? Does it have to be tonight? Could we call a special
You can
meeting
call a
next
special
week
meeting.
after my meeting with the state?
So if you call a special meeting after, the meeting's on the eighteenth, the next borough meeting's the 20th. We need time, Rich needs time to get them up to speed, make the changes. They need to reroute, you know, understand the new route, so this, really, we should do this within the week.
Well,
We're like, no.
right,
I
well,
mean, honestly, though, we
There's-
need some.
the new routes is more about staffing than it is routing, correct? I mean, it's the same company already doing our town.
Yes.
So what we're talking about is just them, you know, they probably have a union contract and they have to staff it properly based on the future month.
Correct.
More
You don't think if we called for like a special meeting on like the 20th, you don't think that's enough time?
You have to, you know, you're gonna have to execute the contracts.
I think,
No?
I think you're cutting it close, because as Teresa started to say, you have to execute the contracts, you have to get them, you have to have your, you know, work meetings.
Rich, what do you think about the 19th? Does that make it better?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, 24 more
all
hours.
day.
The 19th.
Think about how much you can accomplish in one day.
I'd love to think you're gonna come out, and I mean, in the 18th,
Yeah.
with the legislature's making you
But
promises.
you know what, but maybe we walk out of there with a gut.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's the only, just
Here's my concern with that, Mayor, is we are not the first town that's having this problem. You know, in the CFO group chat that I'm part of, it's talked about all the time. And people are constantly going to the senators, constantly talking to the state about it. That's what we have to keep doing. So as much as I would love for them to say, we'll be okay. You know, you can have, I truly don't
just to
feel
be,
that's gonna happen.
just to be fair, I'm not gonna share a private conversation I've had, but the person I spoke to had not heard this from anyone yet. And when I spoke to the other mayors last week, they all said they were having the same issue and they would be reaching out. So I'm not so sure that it has been communicated.
Maybe not in
widespread.
the county, the
Right.
CFO chat is from everywhere.
Right.
Throughout the state, so, but I can tell you, it's been discussed many times.
So Mayor, if I may, I would like the special meeting, number one. I'm just gonna say that because I'm tossing, and I even hate to say this, but I'm tossing whether or not we get rid of both recycling weekly and garbage twice a week. And I'm not willing to make that decision until at least we have the discussion to see if there's gonna be any help or support coming on down. I would say more importantly than having to do the contract execution, it's the education and communication to the residents, right? Because if we're going from 10 bulk pickup to 4, well, June won't happen, right? Because that would be not part of the quarter, right? Because maybe, or maybe it will be, don't know. No, it's half the year, so there's 2
June
left.
will occur because that's the old
It's the old
contract.
contract.
The new contract starts July.
Yep.
So July won't.
But there's a change in bulk pickup, there's a change in recycling,
There will be routing because they're doing garbage in one day.
Right.
Yeah,
And then the other significant data point that I would also like is what is the backup plan, right? We've already had multiple conversations and discussions on, well, how can we do cardboard and how can we do this to offset the 6-month period? So I think between getting that information, getting the discussions with the state, I would say make the special meeting on the 18th after the call, right? So we all can talk
Was
about
there,
it.
was there a communication, Teresa, with the garbage on additional cardboard?
I spoke to them about the carbon. The difficult part is, you know, we have the one on our bandits, their drivers don't get out of the truck. And the access to the truck is on the roof of the truck. So, you know, if they would have to pick up cardboard that was outside the can, they'd have to bind it and use the arm to pick it up, which is, you know, which is very time consuming. We talked about some other options, maybe looking at other towns. I talked to Rich today about whether or not we could do a dumpster in, you know, in Fairhaven Fields for just cardboard for 6 months, you know, but you know, you could explore options for recycling. I do not think the eliminating twice a week in our parks and to our residents would be sustainable. I just, that the parks, you know, we're not gonna be able to use the transfer station and pick up all those trash from the parks and keep it at DPW. And, you know, as it is, we expanded it on purpose because, you know, we've gotten many complaints that, you know, trash in the parks is problematic. So, The recycling, I think you can work your way around that other piece of it, Drew. I think
No.
that would be a
You're
big
saying the summer extra pickup.
the summer extra pickup, and it's not for residents, it's Memorial Day to Labor Day, but for the parks, we made it even a longer timeframe.
And the
For-
business district.
Yes,
They're all tied together.
They need choices.
Would a community like Rumson be willing to take our cardboard?
well, we certainly can reach out to them, you know,
But that would be a cost.
Well, it would be a cost, but it wouldn't be $120,000. You know, because they've got.
well, you don't need permanently, you just need till our recycling center opens up.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes, they would.
Yeah.
Do we,
Yeah.
do we
They
know
what?
that, do we know that it's a
So
6-month
that's
time period?
a solution.
Still
Yeah,
on top of the ground?
DPW, they're on track for December
Yeah,
reopening.
we expect it to be done by December.
Yeah. We even
Is
asked if they can open up the recycling center earlier, and they can't because of the way the
Construction.
site work and phase 1 and phase 2, it doesn't work. We did that a month ago, we looked at that.
But this is a piece, if we know we're pretty much looking at 2 recycle pickups a month. Instead of 4, and we know our own recycling center isn't gonna be open until 2025. We've gotta have a temporary solution to plug that hole, so residents have somewhere to go, especially with cardboard. In fact, predominantly cardboard boxing, shipping materials, this is why they're gonna need a place to go.
Would that be considered an interlocal if we went to another town with our recycle bins?
Not as a temporary fix, no, that would not be an interval.
Even if it was a 6-month contract?
Yeah, we can use a quick contract, if just, if we're paying.
I don't believe so, but if Teresa
Because
feels
then it
differently,
wouldn't matter what it costs because it's outside the cap.
well, it's still not, but so in cap or out of cap, at this point, we're working with our budget that we have now. So it would be, but it would just have to be finding the funds.
And cardboard's still a commodity, it's clean.
And dry.
So
Right.
I also want to make sure that I have it on the record, how sensitive we are to potentially cutting the service here for the community. So much so that we even explored, as I mentioned, it's not about us having the money, it's about the cash. So we reached out to all the surrounding towns in Monmouth County to see if anyone was interested in a shared service where they had in-house garbage and the one-armed bandit, and they would come supplement our recycling service in our town every other week, so that your service would remain the same. Unfortunately, there's not many towns that do their own service anymore, and the ones that do don't seem to have the one-armed bandits. So I just want to make sure that the public understands that we've tried everything we can here to keep your service the same, and this is not about us overspending in other places. This is strictly due to
We should say. it,
expenses
that-
outside of our control.
The state mandates this cap limit, and our budget has to be approved by the state every year. So it's not up to us, basically, until we are able to impress upon our legislators the cap. Not the levy cap, the appropriations cap is not helping, it's hurting.
It's frustrating that the state appropriation cap is going to result in a reduction of services
Correct.
that,
exactly.
that a municipality does not want.
That's well said, yeah.
So the health benefits last year rose by 225,000. Just that line item alone. So that's, if that's a similar amount, there's.
What was that percentage,
20.93%
Of what?
of the product.
I've heard
Health
12%
benefits.
this year, Teresa said she heard
Health
20.
benefits rose 21%.
The only thing we know for sure is it's double digits.
And what percent of that was that?
So we're gonna, even if we remove recycling, we're gonna have to cut next year.
So I wanna throw out, not that I wanna muddy the waters even more. We have a 3-year option here and a 5-year option. Originally, just in having discussions with some of you, there was some of you that thought we should go with 3-year option. My concern here is in order for us to match up to another municipality in the future, if we take the 3-year option, they have to structure their next contract in a way that it ends exactly when ours does. Like, and that could mean that they do a contract for a year and 8 months. It could be, it could be like a weird number, and that's gonna be hard for them because they might be affected they might be at a disadvantage based on the amount of time that the contract is. So really, if we wanted to match up with a municipality, we probably should have been matching up with where their contract ends now. So from my standpoint, like if we're gonna make a decision here, I think it's in the best financial interest of the borough to go with the longer 5-year contract. And the reasoning behind that is I think if we go 3-year with the idea to match up with someone, A, I don't know that we actually will. And B, I think the increase in year 4 and 5 is gonna be greater than the savings that we might take advantage of by syncing with another town. That's all assuming that inflation continues the way it is. But we went up 97% in 5 years. I imagine in 3 years, it's gonna continue. So in year 4 and 5, we're gonna hit that much sooner.
Correct me real quick, Tracy, just on that note, the increase for the 5-year was always 2% with the exception of year 4, which was 4%.
That's correct. And
So,
then back down to 2%.
yeah, and then back down to, so it went 2, 2, 2, 4, 2.
So that means that portion of our budget will be growing less than the cap,
Right,
which will give flexibility in other areas except for year 4.
right.
Once we get to the baseline we need to get to, and this is built into the budget,
It will no
it,
longer.
it makes it a little easier for us moving forward. So that's why I just wanted to mention, I think whatever we choose, we should go 5-year instead of.
Well, is the third 3-year with the annual option to renew for 2 consecutive years,
Negative.
not an option?
So-
Well, I do know that every small town around us is having the exact same situation, and the exact same conversations. Betsy and I've had a chance to talk with Shrewsbury, Little Silver, Red Bank, often on Rumson. And, they're all basically, some are worse off, some are better off than us, but everyone's looking at how we can coordinate and work together. It's not easy, because the points you were making are spot on. How do you get all those gears to line up and work together, but at least everyone's paying attention, if only to control costs, right? It's probably not gonna be that much cheaper, but it would help to, the thinking is it would help to avoid those unexpected spikes like the one we're dealing with right now.
Right.
So continue to talk to them.
Yeah, so we have a meeting on the 18th. I'll even set a special meeting for the 18th. After that meeting, I'll give you another 24 hours.
You need
Yeah.
48, but thank you.
What's that?
You need 48 hours to.
Need to know.
No, I'm saying I gave Rich 48 hours better than the 20th. That's what I was getting.
Is it Borough open on the 19th? It's a holiday.
It's growth.
Yep.
Can, Mayor, may I just post something real quick?
Yeah.
Okay. We know that nothing will be able to be done between now and the end of the month, right? We can't make any decisions based on unknowns, right?
Well, we can, but there's risk.
There's risk there.
Right.
Is it possible for the governing body for us just to see where folks stand as far as a decision as of today? I'm just curious. Because if everybody is on the same page already, irrespective of what happens on the 18th, is it worth making the call or is it not?
So
I'm just asking.
I'm taking the call regardless. I want to make sure everyone understands that. Like, I'm gonna seek an exemption regardless, because I think we need additional space in our budget.
Yes.
The two are The only thing that would potentially change is if you guys think that we have a call and they're like, listen, we've talked about this, I don't expect this, we've talked about this internally, the exceptions come. That would potentially maybe change the risk threshold for me. It'd still be a risk, but maybe we'd be willing to take that risk. That's where, if you want to see where everyone's at, yeah, I support that. If everyone on board here is already like, I know what I want to do. What I would like to do though, potentially, which we will be doing, I believe, is hear from the public.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a little bit of concern for me here that this is the first time we're talking about, we're about to make a big decision that'll reduce service. I thought maybe having a special meeting would give a little bit time between now and then. I'm not saying it changes things, but at least they can voice their opinions, which I think is an important part of this process,
We
so.
could talk to our neighbors, and I mean, I've started doing that to understand the thresholds for family households. And what works, what's complicated, where the
Totally.
issues are.
Yeah,
And my guess is based on all the discussions that I've had the last 2 or 3 days is by the 18th, if that's the date we use, I think we can have these other things buttoned up. From the standpoint of, we'll know what the plan is on the recycling center, or if we're asking our residents to bundle up the cardboard next to their containers if it's too much. Like, we'll have a plan for all of this that truthfully, we're gonna have to communicate through the communications committee and package it nicely so that people can consume it. Cause like you said, that's a whole nother part of this entire process.
Gonna hire a PR agency.
so Mayor, I'm on board with that personally. My reason for raising the question is I want to make sure that we communicate as early as possible to the residents, right? And they don't view a special meeting as us trying to do something off cycle that has such significance.
I'll sit, I'm happy to sit here, you know, if you, during the week in front of that, if you wanna open up an hour for residents to come in and ask us questions. There's nothing here about us trying to make a decision in the dark at night. We just have to make a decision because the date's July 1st.
I also think it shows a certain thoroughness, and thoughtfulness on our part, because it's a critical, necessary service. It's a basic function of government, making sure it's recycled, it's timely, and our streets are clean and things are working, and it's the stuff our residents should never think about. It's an automatic, but we've got to think about it, and we've got to get it as right as we possibly can. So to me, that's the reason for your call, your meeting, second meeting, even eating into the pre-time that I know I can see in your eyes, and you see, Rich, you really want more of that time, which I get, but we might need that time on this side to make sure we do the best possible job we can for our residents. So I agree with that.
I equally agree, right? I equally think that the communication, and I love the idea of having an hour, you know, open session or something like that with communications, just to feel that, because it's a big decision, so I'm good.
I think the most important thing is to know the residents thing.
Mhm.
It would be good to have feedback.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Is it just taking a straw poll based on before there's any other data? Is that the thinking that we would make this move to bi-weekly? Is there anyone that doesn't think that we would do this?
I've been trying to metabolize that and can try it on and talk to friends and neighbors about that. Bi-weekly recycling.
Absent no new information, I would do option 2 with 5-year term.
Agreed.
5 years, yes.
I would consider it if we have options for our residents for placement of cardboard and other recycling.
Yeah.
We had like a
Another
temporary
recycling.
recycling
Yeah.
center.
You have to leave it just to cardboard. Other recycling is, you know,
The problem
problem
really,
is-
the problem is carbon.
Yeah, the problem definitely is cardboard, because if you don't have to put cardboard into your recycling container, that leaves you a lot more room for
Understood.
cans.
It's the
but
carbon.
I thought you said and other recycling.
No, no.
We're just looking to
And then-
see cardboard.
Let's find a place to put all the cardboard. It's a little bit of annoying because you'd have to put it in your car and drive it somewhere. But if you crush your cans and, you know, you take steps to, I guess, to reduce the amount of space that these things take up. Most important thing is where to put the cardboard.
Okay, we have a week now, to package this all together with a bow. If anyone has any questions in the next week, please let me know. If I can't answer them, if they're finance related, obviously, we'll get the answers. And,
I would like to ask the staff to come at that time, to come forward with 2 or maybe even 1, 2, 3 ideas about how we can deal with this 6-month, maybe it's 5-month gap before the our own recycling centers open. I'm sure there's a few
We
ideas.
already spoke about 3. One's working with the contractor to see if they can accommodate bundle cardboard. The second is, could we put a couple of containers in Fairhaven Fields just for cardboard? That'll take some maintenance off to our. And then one, can we reach out to a neighboring town? And I've already done that to see if they'd accommodate
That's great.
our
So maybe we'll know
cardboard.
more.
I'm gonna spend the time the next week, I'm gonna talk to, it's anecdotal, I guess, unless you talk to a larger population, but I wanna hear from my neighbors too, which out of those 3 is most, do they wanna sit there tying up their cardboard? Or is it easier just to bring it to a dumpster or a rump or something like that?
The
And we might not have a choice,
problem
but
with even our dumpsters, if, let's just say we put them in Fairhaven Fields, throwing boxes full, not, any way you slice it, boxes have to be broken down. That's the bottom line. You just can't chuck full big, you can't get a new, refrigerator and just chuck a box in there, it has to be broken down. Regardless, or those dumpsters will fill up so fast to make your head spin. That's the problem we have at our own recycling center.
Can we get a dumpster that also catches deer?
How about a compost garage? What's that called?
We had one, remember, we couldn't keep up with the trash, we got rid of.
Yeah.
Compactor.
Compactor.
Becky has plenty of space at her regard.
that's, well done.
It's
Well done.
not a problem.
You have space. That's it.
They're for the cardboard.
No, Betsy's gonna work the compactor, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Alright, are we good here?
You'll let me know.
Yes.
I guess I just wanna say, obviously, like, I don't love the idea of losing, every week recycling, but I understand the position we're in, and it stinks, but.
I want to ask this question, Nancy, so if we do 3 versus 5 years, how hard is it to go back up? Let's say there's future years, at the end of this contract, to go back up to recycling every week in terms of cap growth? Is that gonna be,
Well, again, it's gonna depend on the increase in the cost at that point. Right now it's 120.
Yeah.
So what do we think in, 3 years? We can see what it would be in 3 years. Yeah, we can see what those numbers would be. I didn't look at them specifically, but we would just, then you're trying to increase your cap a little bit more. Hopefully by that time, state health benefits is killing us every year. Well, last 3. Hopefully that's not a double-digit increase again.
So what other things fall into that category is my question, which so state health benefits, other expenses that we could potentially see an increase in.
Workers' comp, workers' comp, liability insurance, all of your utilities, gas,
Right,
diesel,
right.
pension.
I guess where I was, let me finish this one comment, is thinking about 3 versus 5 years, what gives us the best optionality to restore service back to once a week? If it's gonna be really difficult to bump up. Well, then it might not matter.
It's too many barriers.
Isn't there an appropriation like the bank every year?
There is, but
We don't.
the problem is, once you've utilized your bank, and we utilized it for an emergency appropriation when we got into issues with affordable housing. And once you utilize your bank, every year when you hit that cap, there's no room left in your bank. You know what I mean? Like you've already, building back up
So
again.
we
is
can't
very
build
difficult.
up, can we begin?
But what did we put towards our bank this year? $2,900?
$2,925. Yeah, so we could, certainly that's the plan.
Okay,
But in today's world, it's not an easy plan to follow through on.
The only thing, in my opinion, that would get us back to every week is if they change the rules on the appropriations.
yeah.
So
And
it's-
to your earlier point, when you talk to your legislatures, you don't just have to ask for relief for trash. There's other things they can pull outside of cap. They could pull health benefits, state health benefits out of cap. They could pull, they could look at that and say, okay, we're gonna get wise here and say, anything that's looking to, even if they gave you a differential, if it's going up more than 7% or 8%, you know, you can take a portion out of cap. They can legislate this and help you.
There's one more component I want to bring up. I'm gonna make a recommendation, that if we do this, that we match the, fee on the recycling cans to the fee on the trash cans that we have currently. So that we, adhere to our contract.
Yes,
I don't-
you might even have to raise both of them.
So right now, residents that seek out an additional recycling can, I don't believe.
We don't
there's a
charge.
For it.
Just the cost of can.
Yeah,
But for the trash can, there is a charge,
there's tipping fee charge.
there's a charge. So
I think that.
And that's low,
we,
$40 a year.
in the contract with them, we tell them how many units they're picking up.
Yes.
And certainly we want to make it available to our residents that do want to pick up additional recycling. But I also don't think we want every single resident of the town just to say, all right, I'll just get another can. And now we're in violation of our contract. So I do think we have to attach a number.
Is that the goal?
Can I just go back to the 3 and 5 year?
So the-
three, I'm sorry,
Sorry,
no, finish, sorry.
I just wanted to speak to that, so that's gonna take, changing the fee ordinance. Yep. In order to do that.
I think that's part of what we should be sort of ready for on the 18th at all, because I think it coincides.
There's a number of things, actually.
So I was just gonna say 3 and 5 year, my only thought is that with the 3 year, it gives us more wiggle room to try to line up with another town. Cause 5 years, then we just, we're in it for 5 years and there's no chance that we're gonna be able to do any kind of interlocal agreement for 5 whole years. And if we do it at 3, we could always do a 1-year contract, or like it gives us more chance to line up with another.
That's what we'd have to do. That was kind of my point, is if we go 3 years, at that point, if no one's lined up with us.
Yeah.
On their own, we're gonna have to choose a weird period of time, because if ours ends in July, but someone else ends in March.
Yeah.
You could be saying, all right, we're gonna do an 8-month contract. We could be taken to the coals on those 8 months. There's a possibility.
Brian did this, man.
Yeah.
There's nobody in 3 years that lines up with us. It's 5 years where we have one town that lines up.
Well, some of
We're
the,
only thinking of local, there's other.
I looked at 2 towns, Little Silver and Ralston.
I think we should look at Middletown.
Middletown is already doing a survey
Yeah.
where they send it out, and I participated in it about 2 months ago.
By doing their own, right?
To find out where all the towns are with the goal of trying to look at it more holistically, because everyone's fighting the same battle.
So that would be a reason to go 3 year then. If we think that might be a potential and we're talking about flexibility, I agree 3 years better. If we're talking about straight, we've set a new baseline. And, you know, we think the cap situation is gonna be exactly as it is 3 years from now, 5 years from now, I would say that would be a reason to go 5. So it's just a decision as far as.
I've never seen a rebid come in lower than the prior bid. Let's just say that.
I wouldn't expect it to, and I wouldn't expect it to, even if we did a group one with another municipality 3 years from now. I don't think it will.
but what we can do is start earlier,
Yeah.
bid it.
Right.
Reject if it's too high, but again, reject if it's too high, and then attempt to.
If we only have one bidder though, at the end of the day,
You can still do that and then negotiate with
Twice?
them after the
you
second
gotta
time.
reject twice.
I mean, I feel like we kind of got ourselves a little bit into this position, to be honest, too, just like by the timing of it, and we could have, you know, had we had more time.
Okay.
This might have been.
Anything else here? All right, I'll follow that back up. Right now, we're looking at the 18th. Okay, we can do a Zoom, right?
18th is planning board meeting. We can.
We do it in the morning?
What time is the planning board meeting at?
7:30.
So,
Also our meeting. We also very.
You're not gonna be there.
Yeah.
If we do by Zoom.
That's
Okay.
could we do 5:30 PM? Is that not?
I was gonna say, you could do it either earlier
Yeah,
or.
we do, no,
So
What
we're not
about
like,
9 in the
Another
morning?
thing.
it's a Zoom. How do you guys have events?
Yeah.
What about a morning meeting, guys?
I can make it.
I'll reach out. We'll coordinate. Okay, we'll find a date that works for everyone. All right. Moving along to public comment on agenda items only. Please try to observe a 3-minute time limit. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Is there anyone in the public with a public comment on agenda items only? No? Allison, is there anyone?
Well, someone just, someone was on, now they're off. Stacy Ross.
Is Stacy there or no?
Hi, my name is Howard Ross. First, thank you for all that you do. Is this the public comment section? I don't want to speak out of turn.
So it's a public comment on agenda items only. So if it's based on something that's on our council agenda tonight, now is the time to talk about it.
No,
If
this
it's
is
not on
a,
our agenda tonight, then you would talk at the end of the meeting during good of the borough.
that's fine. I will wait. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Anyone else? Okay, moving along, approval of minutes, May 13th, 2024, regular meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
Second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Bowie.
Yes.
Yes. Barbara.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes. Thank you. Old business, hearing and adoption of ordinances 2024-08, general capital ordinance. Do I have a motion to open? Motion.
second,
All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Is there anyone up here that has anything on this? No? Is there anyone in the public that has any public comments on this? Allison, is there anyone on Zoom?
No.
Do I have a motion to close?
Motion.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Bowie.
Yes.
yes.
Olson.
Yes. Did you miss Lava Rivera there?
Oh, okay. I thought I said you, sorry.
That's okay.
Let me ask.
I'm getting good at that, so.
Best.
Ordinance 2024-09, amend salary ordinance number 2023-13. Do I have a motion to open? Motion.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone up here have anything on this?
I just wanted to, we can talk offline about the best way to communicate this. I just want to make sure that there's some sort of first in touch. Is that what you're,
That's actually the resolution you're talking about.
after the resolution is correct, yes.
Anything else up here? No, anyone in the public have anything on this? Allison, anyone on Zoom?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion to close? Motion.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Do I have a motion to approve? Motion to approve.
second,
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmember Cole.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
Yes.
Bowie.
Yeah,
yes.
La Barbera. Olson.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, next up, for borough facilities, the color board for police department, community center. I picked out all of these colors. Okay, I've spent the last 4 months in my basement. No. That's no longer
We'll go over some colors and some updates. So, if you recall, BFI has professional interior designers, right? And then we have the professionals. We picked the roof and siding and roof and siding. Yes. And then from that, BFI and the architect and all the professionals went and continued on the color scheme from the roof all the way down to the furniture. Police department's being handled with chief as this governing body, and the previous governing body has directed, and what is here are the colors for the Fairhaven Community Center. With 2 specific options on the bottom when it comes to tabletops and chairs. So we need to select an option for each. Betsy drew a mark on each one of these, just so you can see.
He did it.
Each one, messing with you. She did not, for the record, do that. It's inside joke.
Is that what we're going with?
This,
He's
No,
just showing, he's
yeah.
just showing that you.
Pick one tabletop, one
You
chair.
can see how everything
The
fits.
tabletop, the darker one of the tabletop looks like a little too similar to the cabinets, and I feel like that's gonna be a lot.
See, that's a comment that, Michael, I would never even pick up, so I'm gonna stay out of this conversation and let
Tracy, did you?
everyone else handle it.
That I, like, my concern is if we get the tabletop, the darker one, it looks very similar to the cabinets, and that's a lot of that darker color.
Yes,
So-
it is. I think we do need a little bit of pop, a little contrast. It, not a lot. It's a fairly tonal,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
a fairly monocratic theme, which I think is nice. And I think it's just stay on the lighter side.
Oh, yeah.
Does that have a weird surface to the one on the left?
No,
No, the tabletop. It's like almost like
That's just it's just a pattern. That, personally, that's the direction I would go on this, on the left side of the board, because I think what they're saying is. I think what they're saying is. This is a set of decisions for the fenestration and the paint and the flooring.
Correct.
And then here's our countertops and tile. This is the floor molding. Which you could.
chairs. They're just, this is their recommendation.
You could, but there's a definite story. This is a story.
Yeah, and it's a great, I think the story's wrong.
I like the darker color.
I personally think this is the better way to go with the chairs because this is too dark. Do you want to vote?
Yeah, I think we should
could
vote.
go away.
Well, I think the decision is what color chair, so
And tabletop.
What tabletop? So do we want option one or option?
I don't think it matters.
So Betsy, what I was saying is that, so these are the kitchen cabinets. Are these tables in the kitchen with it?
No, negative.
So they could be, because I was thinking these were too
The
much.
kitchen is done.
The tables and chairs, remember, the tables and chairs that we picked are fully collapsible and in storage when not in use.
Yeah, we're all, yeah.
They're only rolling out when you're using it.
It was too much if I thought that.
Who likes option one on either side?
Me.
Who likes option two on the right side? I like option two.
Too dark.
I think I
feel-
It's
letting-
like you've shown this to like, we probably have like 10 interior decorators in town. Has anyone shown
If
it
you
to
pull
them?
up that
And
one
then they
picture,
came
she
up
did a
with-
visual to show you the colors.
Interior designers on the professional.
They came up with
They came up with all that.
Yes,
Yes.
that's not.
I mean, that blue is really.
Which blue is that?
Not either.
It's
I
not.
like that blue.
It's confusing.
Well, she really did it to show you what the ceiling looks like. Get ready.
I like that blue.
I mean, I'm
That's
honestly,
fine.
You guys,
That's why I'm saying out.
this decision should not be made this.
I agree.
Bring them, get 2 samples, put them in a room. It, personally, that's what I think. We can talk about this afterwards or separate from this meeting, but this isn't a council decision with chips. That's what I think, you know.
Well, haven't we been making decisions all along?
Like this, yeah, we have
Only
it.
the exterior.
Like,
Yeah, but, I mean, this is the first time we've seen an interior, but we've
Would
made,
you like to look at some samples inside a room they could bring in some chairs and?
Well, we don't have a room.
They can actually bring you the chair. I mean, it would be, they.
Oh, I don't know, I think the lighting, so they can't, I don't know.
I don't think it matters. I mean, they're all foldable, they're gonna be put away when not in use.
I'm comfortable with option two, but I'm one voice, so whatever.
Or 2 voices.
I'm okay.
I'm two voices?
I
Oh,
agree.
me and you, oh.
The option, the only thing I'll say that I'll add to the conversation is option two. Chairs like this over time tend to get dirty. I feel like option two will show the dirt less than option.
That was.
That's the only thing that's,
That's kind of my reason.
I know.
That's why I went with chip.
I wasn't listening though, because I said I would opt out, so now I want credit for it.
We still do this though.
I take credit, that's it.
So do we have to vote? Or do you want to say something for different
I
time?
don't think you do. You do a straw poll if you want to. I just have to tell them and we go to the meeting on Thursday.
When does this do? Thursday?
They got some lead time on ordering and whatnot, so they're trying to get an idea where we are.
Did they show us only stuff that is available?
Oh, 100%.
You wanna make it fun and put a survey up for the town?
No.
Oh,
You know?
Listen,
Yes.
Scott, just to come back,
Wrong, dude.
the professional interior designers at BFI and our professionals group aligned everything from the roof all the way down to the furniture colors and provided.
No, I mean a decision between the two options.
Like we
What
could
should
buy
they, did they,
Yeah.
did they go recommend that one that they leaned
I don't know how good the colors will come out on a,
Teresa was there. I wasn't there.
Teresa, did they pick a color that?
Yeah, did they select a color?
Were they leaning towards one?
they were leaning towards the lighter.
Okay. Tracy?
Because they thought it went more with the grays and the beachy tones and the things you're trying to do on the rest of it.
Who recommended that? The company?
The BFI and the
Alright.
architect,
Don't they know better than anyone?
that was their 2 cents.
No one will pay them?
For the long run, no one's gonna know the difference, whichever one you choose.
Yeah, I understand.
So what are we doing here? Do we need a motion to approve this or do we need to sleep on it? This isn't my expertise, so.
I think we should just make a decision.
Just
I
to
mean,
go
if
with your recommendation, the lighter is better in a small space, there's a lot of natural light, you know. I think they put it forward knowing neither one would be bad, obviously.
If they, listen, I didn't know that, if they recommended option, like,
They didn't recommend it, they just said if they were picking it, that's, they knew the governing body wanted some choices, so they gave you two choices.
I trust the professionals.
Can we tell them the surprises?
I'm good with option one.
Can you what?
Can we tell them the surprises?
I like that. I do that in restaurants a lot.
I'm good
I
with
give them
option.
3 options. I say just bring one over.
I make
That's
a straw poll motion
Always
for
difficult.
option one, given that the professionals have agreed, have stated they like that.
And you'll probably forget what the other option was
Correct.
anyway.
Right.
I'm all for option
All
one.
right, so you making a motion?
Option one.
Yeah.
Is anyone a second?
Mhm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Aye.
Okay, next one, community center lettering. This is important because it's gonna impact the residential area. When we met as a governing body last year, we were oscillating between what's above. And if I recall, chief, when we did lettering, we were gonna call it police station,
No, originally it was gonna be.
Fairhaven Police Station.
Fairhaven Police Department, we trumped the Fairhaven Police, which fits.
Yeah, so the police department's gonna say Fairhaven Police. Do we do community center or Fairhaven Community Center?
And the differential here is you look at the picture she showed you. The lettering is such that you can fit community center in the same size lettering as the PD and it's larger. If you want Fairhaven Community Center, they have to drop the 2 lines and the lettering
Which
is
side of the
smaller.
building is this on? Is it on both?
It's on the part that faces Fifth Street, the community center.
So there's no signage on the one that faces the baseball fields on that
I
side?
don't believe so.
So a smaller building should have a smaller sign. The letters that are on, and mind you, it's set back, it's smaller, it's also, we could say. Its presence is less significant than the PD. So,
I like the word Fairhaven in there, but
that's my experience with signage on buildings. That should be scaled appropriately for.
I can go either way.
I'm good with that. I'm good with Fairhaven
It's,
Community
and
Center.
not really, I mean, it's Fairhaven.
True.
Because
I
you
do
say,
people like the way it looks.
does that determine whether you want Fairhaven or not? You're just saying the size of the sign.
I think it's obvious that it's Fairhaven Community Center, you know, so personally, I wouldn't want that, but getting getting the scale of the signage right is.
is that a window or is that the borough seal? On top of it? Cause if the borough seal's on top, then I don't think it needs to say Fairhaven.
No, I don't think the Borough Sears up there. I know it's.
I feel like that's
saying.
Where are we not using the seal, just out of curiosity?
Well, that's a really big feature in the facade, that's not.
Sits behind you.
And quite frankly, listen, for this one, like the lead time on lettering isn't such that like a decision has to be
No.
made tonight. So if we want to sit on that one, like more than happy to. I think it would make sense to have uniformity between the community center and PD and alignment there.
Oh, wait, and the
But the PD is gonna say Fairhaven Police,
Very inclusive.
so I think it should say Fairhaven Police. That's mine.
Yeah, hang on.
You wanna go back that way?
But this says north elevation, so does that mean it's facing north?
It's facing Fisk. You
Yeah,
see
it's
both the front of the
facing
PD and the community center from Fifth Street, like as you walk.
So the police station is over here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little fault, right? The police station gable was here and then the community center's back, right? But yes,
Yeah.
you would see them both from this.
But it will be smaller letters if you go with Fairhaven. It will
Right.
be 2 lines as opposed to. community center.
Well, I think, well, if it goes, which one would match up with the size of the lettering on the police department?
Just community center.
But listen, it's a smaller building, it shouldn't have the same size typeface.
I
It have the
agree.
same typeface, but not the same size lettering.
Yeah,
But you want the same font. but
It's
not
gotta
the
be
same size.
scaled to the facade.
community center's a third of the size.
Listen, I didn't talk on that because I'm not good at table counters, but I know some.
All right,
I'm good with Fairhaven Community Center.
all right, checking.
Everybody good?
All right, we're good.
Okay, some other updates real quick, Mayor, and facilities? No.
Okay.
Well, I do have a PowerPoint. Just so some quick updates. So we did the color board. Thank you. DPW, just to preamble, if you recall, 2-3 meetings ago, brought up the sewer pipe. Remember, Two Water River Reclamation Authority came out, they piped, they telescoped the pipe from the street and the entire pipe from the street all the way to the deep that was compromised. So from the edge of pavement to the building is our responsibility, so there'll be a change order coming. If it's sub $5,000, right, this governing body has authorized the mayor to sign off on it. If it's above it, it will come here for approval. So just want to make sure that's not lost. I saw a note, so there's a significant drought in Mexico. And that meant for DPW that they have suspended the sterling gray siding color. Don't know what's happened. I just saw.
I don't understand how the drought in
Oh, come on.
affects.
I'm not messing.
And that's what we
Side.
chose?
That's what we
And they
chose.
didn't make them yet?
No. And so I don't have any more information on that, but I just want to put that out there.
They're checking other
You know what,
manufacturers.
Pittsburgh paints is in.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh
but-
City, maybe
but I double checked.
paint.
There's the
All
same,
it's just-
there's a similar issue when it comes to the garage door color. So everybody's working on it, some more to come. And then you'll see on the resolutions, the Maple Avenue offsite improvements, which is great. And then just to round out with Vic Hall, Christy Larson sent out the CTE report. I think we sent it to environmental and somebody and Shade Tree
I
and,
got it.
okay, great. Thursday, we're meeting on site with the GC who's gonna help with the punch list items. And then on resolution tonight is the maintenance repair plan. So facilities is keeping it going. We'll continue to provide updates and go from there.
Is there a concern with the color being out that the siding is exposed for a longer period of time? No?
I mean, I defer to Rich, but
Not
they
an
have the
issue?
Durwrap on and all that other stuff.
Like the house next to me had wrapped for
Yeah,
years.
they're in the process of wrapping it anyway.
Okay, we're good. All right. Thank you, Councilman LaBarbera. Moving along, new business consent agenda. As it is now, we're talking about resolutions 2024-130 through 156. And then 158 through 165. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone wants to separate? The solid waste recycling collection bin. Okay, no. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone wants to discuss before I ask for a motion?
We wanted to amend
Oh, excuse me.
the
yes.
language,
Yeah.
and update it 165.
Mayor, yes, if.
Sorry,
I'd like to.
So let's just separate 165 for now.
Yeah,
Okay,
Sure.
so right now, I'm gonna ask if anyone has a motion on 138 through 156, and then 158 through 164. Do I have a motion?
I'll second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmember Cole? Yes. Stephen Kelly?
Yes.
Bowie?
Yeah.
Bob?
Yes.
LaBarbera?
Yes,
Olson?
Yes.
Thank you. And then on 2024-165, Councilman Barbera.
I'll defer to Councilwoman Cole.
In consultation with Councilman LaBarbera, we would like to submit for council consideration amendment to resolution forming the 21 Fairhaven Road Advisory Committee. In the second whereas, we would prefer a statement as follows: Mayor Halpern is creating 21 Fairhaven Road Advisory Committee to provide recommendations to the governing body, period. So that would be striking out ideas to review options, ideas for what the property should look like. Can you just say it one more time? To provide recommendations to the governing body, it's just to, simplify the function of the body, essentially. The other.
They are gonna be reviewing though, there's gonna have some feedback,
Absolutely.
maybe that's the one part I think is missing,
Oh, what do you want to say?
just like reviewing and then providing. In other
Where?
words, like you want their
To
input.
review, okay, yeah, discuss, review,
And
and provide
recommendation.
recommendations. Very good.
Could you repeat that?
Of course, Mayor Halpern is creating a 21 Fairhaven Road Advisory Committee to discuss and to review options, I can leave in and ideas, to provide recommendations to the governing body. Does that sound?
It's all non-binding, right?
It's advisory.
So I have a question.
it's the removal of the property that, what the property should look like.
In the past, this kind of,
That's it.
yeah, in the past,
Although we have sorry, there's an amendment before council, so for Robert's rules, I put that forward as a motion. If you can get a second, then we'll have a discussion. Second.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
that's fine, we can open it
I
up.
think that's the way it works. So I'm putting that forward
I'll
as
make the
a
motion.
Well, hang, but before we make the motion, if that was the case, Kristen made a recommendation, we change on the fly. If Brian's gonna make a change to the
Okay.
language, we should just do that all at once.
Right, okay. Do you want to change?
My,
that?
my question is, in the past, this type of activity, do they come with piecemeal recommendations sort of along the way, or do they come with a completed report? I would much rather prefer the second. Like, this is what we think.
For leaf and brush, I'm not gonna say it was completed, but it was close to completion when we started discussing it here. That's how I kind of recall it.
We met for like 8 months before we started coming back with, because it took 8 months to get all the data and all the information.
So after 8 months, they kind of came with a plan that I would say was somewhat complete, but then it changed over the next month or so as they fine tuned
But
it.
the broad strokes were.
Okay.
Correct.
I think that one of the first things, Drew and I have talked about is, putting together a process.
Yeah.
And we will communicate that process to this body, so you'll see an arc of phased works and understand where you'll see and be able to intervene and collaborate.
That might be the one difference is there's a few phases, it sounds like, in this project. Brush and leaf, it was like, here's your new plan. You know what I mean? That's gonna be for everything. So there might be a phase of demolition and then a phase of planning and then that's, so.
I think what you're saying, is efficiency of updates, right? Is that what-
Like,
You want meeting PowerPoints every single
No,
meeting?
no, no.
It's a joke.
No power.
Everybody gave me a hard time.
When there's major updates.
100%.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so we still have to mention that, but
But, at what point, I mean, I know that these guys will all meet, but is there a point where they then meet with like a planner, or we bring any professionals in?
Part of what Tracy.
well, I think they're gonna make a
That's part of it.
recommendation to the governing
So that
body
can be
on
part
that
of the
process.
Oh, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
You made a motion,
I would like to, move to amend the resolution with the wording as follows. Allison, would you like me to repeat it? If you.
Taking out, putting up language. Second paragraph, Mayor Halpern is creating a 21 area route advisory committee to discuss, review, and provide recommendations to the governing body.
Yes, that's perfect.
Thank you.
does
So
someone
we
second,
need a
Second.
is that an all in favor or a,
Do you want a discussion?
or a roll call? Anyone-
It's fine.
What's that?
All
All in favor?
Then you're-
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
No.
Okay.
No.
Now I need a motion to approve, right?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Allison, may I please have a roll call?
Councilmembers Paul,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Tony,
Yeah.
Todd,
Yes.
Alberta.
Yes.
Olson.
Thank you. Department reports, May 2024. Do I have a motion to accept the reports as submitted with a you're welcome?
Motion with a thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
We just.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, moving along, this is the good of the borough portion of the meeting. Please stand and identify yourself by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Please observe a time limit of 3 minutes. So if Mr. Howard Ross is still here, this would be your portion. Is there anyone in the public that has a good of the borough comment tonight? No? Allison, is there anyone on Zoom?
Mr. Ross does not have his hand up, but meeting the board,
What's the name?
meeting that board.
Lena?
Nina.
Nina, I'm sorry, I apologize. Nina?
Hi, hello?
Hi, Nina, how are you?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you?
Good.
I got to witness the council meeting for the first time. So this is pertaining to Howard Ross as well. We are at 1 South Woodland Drive. I did send an email to everyone, including all the council. I got a few responses, which I appreciate very much. I just want to know the status. Before I did actually get to meet Rich out in the street the other day as he was looking around and adding dots to our road. I did want to know what the status is of the paving and when it's starting to take place, because we do have a concern here with this water that has been running all the way down South Woodland, all the way to Woodland Drive.
Sure, so you asking when the street's gonna be paved, or you're asking about the water itself?
Yeah, I mean, ideally, it'd be great to have a solution for the water prior to the paving taking place.
Yeah, so, you know, I can't speak specifically as to that water source and as it relates to your street. I can tell you that we're aware of many of these across the borough. It's something that we've started discussing and we may potentially address. It is, from my understanding, it has to do with the high water table in our town. They don't seem to run, most of them don't seem to run every summer. They only seem to run certain time periods that usually are preceded by heavy rains. And they last for obviously several weeks and then sometimes months. It is an issue. We recognize it. I think we're gonna socialize it amongst each other. I think the biggest issue is probably the way that it needs to be fixed is through a dry well system on individual properties. And those obviously come with a very, very high cost for the individual homeowner. So I think we have to come up with a solution that is appropriate, that addresses the issue and also doesn't encumber a homeowner with an expense that they weren't expecting immediately. As far as the paving of that street, Rich, do you know when that street is meant to be paved?
Well, to her point, I was out there last week, we marked out the limits of milling and paving. We started on the other streets that were in the projects. We finished everything within the borough, with the exception of that area, we're gonna be relocating. I'm not sure if we're gonna be running a milling crew tomorrow over there, we're gonna be paving the areas that have been milled throughout the borough, like Lewis, Hunting, those sections. If not this week, probably early next week, we'll be milling and then paving. So we had anticipated about 2 weeks to get through the paving for the micro projects. As such, notices will be hand delivered. You know, we're not just gonna show up day of. Because of the micro project feel the whole thing, we're bouncing around a lot, so yeah, there are times we're running, you know, like Saturday morning, we were delivering notices for milling this past Monday. It just so happens that's the way it kind of happened, so.
The one question I do have on this one specific issue is, will the milling and paving, I know it won't stop the water from running, but will it not pool up in that one location when it's done?
So there's 2 locations for pools, we installed some curving, trying to get a little more pitch to get it to run along that gutter line. And then where it ties into where the water sheet flows, where South Woodland and Woodland come together, which is adjacent to her driveway, we marked that whole area to repave, which wasn't originally in the contract. But we know we have to take care of it, and I put a level on it, and we're gonna pull string, we're gonna make sure.
That's great.
So we'll at least get through, and there's 2 catch basins at the creek crossing right on Woodland, right across that street, so to at least get it off the street.
Forgive me if I missed this, but do we know what the water source is? Do we know why that's happening?
Because a resident has a sump pump already.
Okay, is it, Nina, is it a new build?
No.
This is an old, so from my understanding, and this is part of what I'm asking as well. I don't believe anybody's actually assessed and figured out where or what the origin of the water is.
No, we have.
I've been here for 5 years and this has never happened like this. It started in March and it has been ongoing, a steady stream. It has not slowed, it has not changed. It's the same exact amount. Whereas most of ours we have 3 sump pumps in our own home, have slowed to a point where we don't even notice it anymore. But this is still going at the same rate as it had been in March. And, you know, in my opinion, it would be smart to go and find out what the origin. It could be something that was broken, like a pipe or an irrigation system or something else, rather than, you know, just tossing it up to the water table, whereas everybody else has not had any other problems at this point where there's no more rain. You know, we had tremendous rain and that made sense. We let it go for a while, but at this point now, it seems there's something else going on. And
May-
I don't believe anybody's gone to actually address it.
May I add to that? My name is Howard Ross. I live across the street from Nina. I live at 212 Linden Drive in Fairhaven. We have contacted the town engineer at least 3 times, gone to the borough, and the engineer came out once. We have 3 problems from this same water. One, we have significant erosion in the stream, which is tearing apart our side lawn, which lies adjacent to the stream. The engineer, when he came out, said that they were going to clean out the dirt and piping so that the water flowed down the stream more quickly. That has not been done. The erosion continues. I think it represents a safety hazard. You will see children play. They do something. They look for this wolverine in the stream area and run under the street. I think it represents a danger to them. We have replaced the apron at our curbside twice completely at our expense because the water rips down the street and rips up the apron. We have investigated, and the water actually originates at Hillside. It comes out of a sump pump into the curb. It goes down Hillside, down Woodland. It pools in front of Nina's property, and then it goes down towards the drain. So a simple fix of paving over the street might stop some of the pooling in front of Nina's, but it's not going to stop the destruction of our driveway and the side lawn adjacent to the stream. This is a significant issue in Fairhaven. I don't think that we're really seeing effect on this. And I appreciate Nina's efforts and the town's efforts into looking into this, but it is not from the water table. The water table may be high, but on the driest of summer days, you will still see water in front of Nina's house running all the way from Hillside, down Woodland, down Linden, to the stream past our driveway. So we would like it addressed as well.
Can I ask another question? Has anything different been done around that house specifically? Are there new builds around it? Is there been construction to that house?
There is
Has
now.
anything changed?
No, there is now new construction on the upside of the hill. You know, the stream on Linden Drive. We're at 212. We're on the corner, and then it reaches the stream, and then it goes up a slight uphill. They are doing construction on the house to our left. They're kind of redoing and rebuilding the house, but this has nothing to do with that. This was going on before the construction when there was an older home there. This is a long-standing problem. We have lived in Fairhaven since 2007. Again, we've replaced the apron twice.
All right, Nina and Howard, thank you for your time. We appreciate it. We're gonna take that discussion offline and talk internally about it. You know, I know you're speaking specific to this one situation, but it is happening all over the borough. So I think we need a larger fix in general. But we appreciate you bringing it to our attention very much.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very much.
I think, you know, the reason I combined the paving with the this situation is that
Sure.
I'm told that they were going to try to divert it, but it's still making it travel past hundreds of yards and multiple yards, you know, so affecting many people. Whereas, you know, there's other houses where the sump pump who has been grandfathered in is going straight to a drain, you know, only around the corner. This is actually going the entire length of this road.
Yeah.
So, you know, I would like to know where the origin of the water is. Especially if it's going to a storm drain, we don't even know what's in this water. You know, so as far as environmentally, you know, what is this water coming from? There, I do know there was a new house built on the corner of Buena Vista, just west east of this home, that put in a new sprinkler system, and I'm wondering maybe something went wrong with them. I mean, I think they'd noticed a water bill that was extra high, but maybe they don't, you know. It
Well,
would
Mayor
it behoove everybody to go check it out, is really what we're asking.
Yeah, Mayor Halpin, I appreciate the bigger fix. You know, paving is nice, but you know, really it's just gonna throw more water down past the home. So.
Howard, just so I can recommunicate, when I talk about the bigger fix, I'm talking about the entire municipality. We have this, you know, I'm sensitive to the fact this is happening on your street, but it's happening on many streets across the borough. So, you know, we need to come up with a fix so that ultimately water is not flowing on the streets of Fairhaven from private residences anywhere in the borough of Fairhaven. But that doesn't mean that we're not sensitive to your specific issue, and I'm sure many of us are going to come by and take a look. And also, we're going to talk about it internally, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Allison, anyone else? Okay, thank you. With that being said, we already did executive session, didn't we? Yeah, so we're moving towards adjournment. No, we have another exec.
It'll be 30 seconds.
We're gonna have a 30-second executive session, okay? And no formal action will be taken? Do I have a motion to move towards executive session?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No. 8:56 PM. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? 9:01 PM, Fairhaven. Let's go.
So next, right?